We have a very respectable member of society, Srivas Pandit or Srivas Thakur as he was known, and one very envious person, not feeling happy that why are these devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being given so much of respect, so much of honor? Perhaps in your society today, your neighbors may not be even aware that you are a devotee or what exactly is happening. And sometimes it's difficult to not even convince, just to convey to our near dear ones as to what exactly uh, has happened to us, why suddenly we are chanting Hare Krishna, why suddenly we are reading Prabhupada's books. This is a personal request, Gary Prabhu, not today, but someday I would like to hear your story. Your, your story is no less adventurous than anyone's, I suppose. And at this age, you are discovering Krishna consciousness. Just yesterday, I was hearing one Prabhupada's lecture, first chapter, 42nd verse. No, that was the other verse. This is about Sanatan. The word Sanatan comes so often. And I mean, I swear, you feel you're reading Prabhupada's books for the last 30 years, you know them, and at one particular moment you are a bit attentive, and one point hits you. It's like in boxing they call TKO, technical knockout. So I mean, it's so simple. Once one senior devotee told that Krishna and Krishna consciousness is so simple, you would miss it. You would miss it in a crowd of so many philosophies, or in the sense, you may say, I want to meet somebody at this county fair. How does he look? Oh, he's just a plain Joe or a plain Jane, nothing very particular, average height, body. Is he handsome or is she beautiful? Well, no, homely kind of, your average personality. It's very easy to miss out such a person in a crowd. So what this devotee was telling was the simplicity of approach. So I will tie it up to our discussion today. The living entity is described as Sanatan, without any beginning, without any end. Krishna is described as Sanatan, without any beginning, without any end. Our material body is not Sanatan, however. Our body is born at a particular time, and that too, it's a very technical thing. We say, when we come out of our mother's womb, that's our birth. But the Vedas say no. That particular time when the male sperm and the female egg unite, and Krishna's energy sends a particular soul, that is the time the body starts growing. And Prabhupada gave an example in a long tunnel. If you see trucks coming one after another, like once where did we go? On the way to New Vrindavan, I think there is a Allegheny mountain range, long tunnel bordering Pennsylvania and West Virginia, most probably. And so somebody sitting outside may think that the tunnel is manufacturing all these trucks, and one after another they are coming out. But you may say, no, sir, it's not true. The trucks were made 18, 25, 7, 8 years ago at some other place. You are just seeing them in your particular context right now. So something which is happening in front of you doesn't mean it is the birth of something. So this is what is applicable to the soul. So the soul is Sanatan, Krishna is Sanatan. And Prabhupada said, therefore, the activities also must be Sanatan. If eternal soul and eternal Krishna are linked with each other, that link also has to be eternal. And then Prabhupada hammers this point. So how can you say that Sanatan Dharma is only for India? It is only for the Brahmanas, only for the higher castes. It's for everybody, every living entity. So when we say religion has to be broad-minded, not narrow-minded, philosophy has to be broad-minded, I feel the way Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given his understanding through the six Goswamis and through our Prabhupada's purports, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to bring yourself to the level of being broad-minded, but the wisdom is there. That's what I'm saying. It's like you don't bring the philosophy to your level. You elevate yourself to the level of Krishna conscious philosophy. And as I can attest, it's a struggle. Many times you fall, many times you feel yourself deficient compared to the wisdom shared here. So, what is a common response to something which you don't understand, something where you're not allowed? You feel, oh, this is low class. In in India, we have this. It's a fairly well-known folk tale, the sour grapes. A fox wanted to eat a bunch of grapes, and he jumped, and he jumped, and he jumped so many times, but he couldn't reach that bunch of grapes. So he left saying, "Ah, I think they are sour. I don't think they are that sweet." Hey, why don't you admit that you could not get them? So similarly, if we cannot understand what exactly is Krishna consciousness, one simple shooting from the hip response is, I think it's weird. I think it is something, oh, it's total nonsense. So this is what this guy, a neighbor, was saying, and rather than uh, trying to defend, Srivas Thakur, being a gentleman, he just said, hey, gentlemen, every night I worship the goddess Bhavani, and now you understand what's my position. So, as I last time said, sometimes there are historical events which we may not understand today, right now, because the culture had changed. But this was a big scandal kind of thing in that local community, or that local section where people were staying. So, text 43. तबे सब शिष्ट लोक करे हाहाकार ऐचे कर्म हेथा कैला कौन दुराचार. Translation. Then all the assembled gentlemen exclaimed, sorry, what is this? What is this? Who has performed such mischievous activities? Who is that sinful man? Now you understand the importance of what Srivas Thakur is implying that. Text 44. Hadi ke aniya sab duro ko raila, jalagomai diya se sthana lepaila. They called for a sweeper called Hadi in Bengal at that time, who threw all the items of worship far away and cleansed the place by mopping it with a mixture of water and cow dung. Purport. The men in Vedic society who engage in public sanitary activities like picking up stool and sweeping the street are called Hadis. Sometimes they are untouchable, especially when engaged in their profession. Yet such Hadis also have the right to become devotees. This is established by Sri Bhagavad Gita 9.32, where the Lord declares, Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syupapayo nayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, that is merchants, and Shudras, that is workers, can attain the supreme destination. Prabhupada further explains, there are many untouchables of the lower caste in India. But this, mind you, is a social consideration. I am giving an explanation here. There are many untouchables of the lower caste in India, but now Prabhupada is giving us the spiritual consideration. But according to Vaishnava principles, everyone is welcome to accept this Krishna consciousness movement on the spiritual platform of life and thus be freed from trouble. Neither equality nor fraternity is possible on the material platform. When Lord Chaitanya declares, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, he indicates that one must be above the material conception of life. When one thoroughly understands that he is not the material body, but a spirit soul, he is even humbler than a man of the lower caste, for he is spiritually elevated. Very important point. Such humility, in which one thinks himself lower than the grass, is called sunichatva, and being more tolerant than a tree is called sahishnutva, forbearance. Being situated in devotional service, not caring for the material conception of life, is called amanitva, indifference to material respect. Yet a devotee thus situated is called manada, for he is prepared to give honor to others without hesitation. Now, Prabhupada gives a historical experiment done by none other than one person known throughout the world as very magnanimous, very broad minded, the father of the Indian independence movement. But let us see how he compares with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophical demands. Prabhupada says here, Mahatma Gandhi started the Harijana movement to purify the untouchables, but he was a failure because he thought that one could become a Harijan, a personal associate of the Lord, through some kind of material adjustment. That is not possible. Unless one fully realizes that he is not the body but is the spirit soul, there is no question of his becoming a Harijan. Those who do not follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciplic succession cannot distinguish between matter and spirit, and therefore all their ideas are but a mixed up hodgepodge of problems. They are virtually lost in the bewildering network of Maya Devi. Whoa, big warning. Getting lost in the network of Maya Devi. It's like the World Wide Web. I don't know who gave this thing the name World Wide Web. So there is a web woven, and we are all like small flies. And the spider, he exactly knows which is a sticky part, which is a non-sticky part. Actually, I made an experiment one day. I saw how this guy, this spider must have started his work late evening, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock ish, and just waiting for someone to come. And lo behold, in the morning, there was one fly, and the fly was trying to get out. And exactly as the scripture described, the more she was flapping her wings or whatever, the more she was entangled. And in a few hours, the fly died. And then comes the master of the web, and he knows exactly which is the sticky part, which is the non-sticky part, or maybe his feet has something which doesn't allow them to stick. So cut. He goes towards that part, and maybe they drink the blood, or there's no blood in flies. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody has done some medical experiments, but whatever the body nutrition or whatever, and the next day morning you just have a skeleton, and he just dumps it as if nothing has happened, business as usual. So this is the web. So we have a question here. One person in my family, from Shirsha Mataji, one person in my family asked, is Krishna won't accept as whom you are? Why are you converting yourself to a Brahmana? Like, stop eating onion, garlic, and Brahman initiation. So could you elaborate a little bit more?
Actually, Prabhuji, we are before Krishna conscious. I am a meat eater, so I stopped everything and I stopped the onion, garlic, and everything. And I'm aspiring on Maharaj, right? So in my family is asking, there are four castes. You born in one caste. Um, are you not manipulating by these brahmanas, you want to stop? If Krishna is you are the part and parcel of Krishna, is Krishna won't accept all caste, why are you converting yourselves into this? He asked me. So i
Okay,
could
okay, okay, okay.
I couldn't
If
answer.
somebody is, why did you come to America to improve your economic life? Sorry, I'm being very blunt here. You may say, well, like there are so many good Indians who say, so should I work in a place where there is so much of nepotism, so much of corruption, so much of, I think my talents are not valued there. I came for studies or whatever business, and I find that this is a place where my talents are respected. Now I know America is not some la la land or it's not a spiritual world, but just a simple consideration. Our Gary Prabhu is a farmer, is an organic farmer or whatever. Won't he go to some place where there is a bigger demand for his produce or there is a better price for the produce? Now, wait a minute. I'm not talking spiritual truths here. I'm talking basic material considerations. So, even in this material world, where your talents are more respected, more in demand, more scope, you go there. We are beginning with a material understanding. Okay. Now, your family is thinking that a Brahmana means one who just wears a white thread or does some mumbo jumbo, mumbling some mantras or whatever. And basically, okay, we earn our living by working hard, and you earn a living by just going and muttering some mantras. This is what is wrong with India. And where does the problem lie? The problem lies, according to Prabhupada, with the behavior of the Brahmanas. Brahmanas have to do six things: Pathan, Pathan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. Need not be bothered by the Sanskrit. Pathan is you become wise. You're not saying you learn 3,000 verses. No, you just become wise. You become wise by begging, borrowing, or stealing wisdom. And Prabhupada is giving all wisdom in his books. So read these books, one verse a day, Bhagavad Gita, just one verse a day, and that's it. Within 2 years, you become conversant with the Bhagavad Gita. It has 365 verses, one verse a day, plus the purport. I'm giving one extra additional year for the whole purports. But within I'm sorry, 700 verses. So within 2 years, you can read that. So Pathan and Pathan. Pathan means to help others. Whatever your grade of life, if life is like a university, if you are in the third grade, you will always have somebody who's at PhD level. But there will be some who are below you, right? Second grade and first grade. So nobody can say, I can't teach anyone else. No one. You will always have someone below you. As I say in English, each one teach one. One of my favorite sayings. Second one is, when you teach, you learn twice. You heard of that? Beautiful piece of wisdom. You don't teach to show off how much you know. You teach so that you learn twice. And I will never get tired of repeating this. Chaitanya Charitamrta is one of my favorite books. For 14 years, I did not read it properly. And all 12 of you or 10 of you here, you are my gurus because you desired that we should learn Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm not joking and I'm not being unnecessarily humble. I'm the most selfish person on this planet. And I feel, why I feel sometimes so refreshed after this, my Wednesday morning and your Tuesday evening class, because I learned twice. That's a fact. So, Patan, learn, Pathan, teach. Yajan, technically, Yajan means you perform the fire sacrifice. Culturally speaking, no one does it, or only few people do it in India. But our sacrifice is the chanting of the holy name. So you chant personally, you teach others to chant, whoever comes your way. Dana is charity, pratigraha is to give back in charity. So somebody could give you maybe some money or some food or some clothing or whatever. A Brahmana is supposed to accept that. But a Brahmana also is supposed to give others. Like they say, like somebody had asked me that, oh, in India, you can easily have animals. The temple may have some cows. There are dogs in the street. And what about America? America, we don't have stray dogs in the street running around. Or no, you may give to some animal shelter. You may give some donation. You may, like Prabhupada gives this hint in the Bhagavad Gita, you may not be able to do direct Krishna conscious activities because of time, place, and circumstances. You may give it to some good cause. Do you understand? In the absence of something directly, don't stop the activity, do something indirectly. Now you have to use your material wisdom that don't give to some scamster or don't give to some place where the money could be siphoned off or something. Use your intelligence and you will always find something. Prabhupada is saying, give to some good cause and pray to Krishna that because I'm so far away, I cannot engage directly. Let this be the gesture from my side. I'm giving $5, $10, $50, whatever. I want to come near you. I want to do the part of a Brahmana. Krishna sees the intent, not the content, and will surely use that one gesture from your side to elevate you to a higher place. So, we are talking about 21st century duties of a Brahmana. Now, if your family members are saying that, why don't you remain as you are? Everybody is trying to elevate their position. Is it not true? Okay, another Indian example. You have a cycle, a bicycle, two-wheeler, but a non-mechanical two-wheeler. Once your economic situation improves, you go for a motorcycle or a scooter. After that, you go for a small car, then a bigger car, a bigger house. So you can explain to them, you were born in a particular family, but there is no stipulation that you have to remain in that particular situation. I'm sorry to say, but this is just an excuse to continue their eating habits, their living habits, under the pretext of being, well, whatever the Lord wants, I will do. Are you sure that in every part of your life you do that, and whatever the Lord has given me, I'll be happy with that? No, you try to improve all the time. So these are some thoughts about those who say, why don't you just remain where you are? Any other thoughts from any other devotees? Please feel free to jump in.
So, Prabhuji, one time one of my Siksha Guru, this is many years back, like around this topic, he did say that this process is God realization process. So, in order to reach to the God, like the relationship to set up, we need to be purified. And one example is, like, the president of United States, so he is president for everyone, like, all classes, economy classes, like, rich people or poor people, everyone. But when you have to go meet him, you have certain procedure to follow, like you have to set up an appointment, you have to follow some process. When you go meet him, you have to be dressed up in a certain way, and you have to talk certain way, like you can't be dirty. So the same, just for the president of United States, you have to follow so many procedures and process for few months before the appointment. And it's a god, he's the lord of the universes, so there is a pattern and process for that too. So one of my shiksha guru many years back, he gave this example.
Yeah, yeah. So what he's saying is uh, in a sense that you may be in whatever situation, but now even you want to promote to some higher station, you need to be taught technically, you need to be trained up, is it not? And nobody, like an astronaut wants to go on in space, and he may say, I will not use the space suit. No, what nonsense. You need to be protected from certain things, and this is a training process. It's not that any Tom, Dick, Harry can become an astronaut. There is so much of training. First of all, you have to be an Air Force pilot, which itself is like so much of training. So becoming a pilot is like a Brahmana, becoming an astronaut is like a Vaishnava. After training, you need to be having more training. But is it true that somebody has to be born in a pilot's family to become a pilot? No. Anybody with keen eyesight, knowledge of physics, knowledge of mathematics, give the pilot's exam and you are qualified. That time you're not checked whether you come from a family of pilots or non-pilots or whatever. So if for mundane education, we have this strong consideration that if that person has given the qualifying exam, please allow him. No discrimination after that. Spiritual education also follows the same thing. Now somebody might say, especially the caste Brahmanas in India, they say, so why was he born in a non-Brahmana family? Because of certain activities and certain actions he has done. So in one temple, one Western body devotee went there, and seeing a American Vaishnav, white skin, but tilak, shaven head, that pujari, the priest, he was appreciative and he told him, wow, how come you people are now becoming Hindus? How come you people are now following us? So he said, well, we are not exactly becoming Hindus, but our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he has trained us up. And for the last 8 years, I'm following this. Oh, good, good, good. Continue like this, and one day you will be able to give up the disadvantages of this sinful body, and you can be born in Bharatvarsha in India. You know, such a great blessings for you. So he was very happy, and he came back to Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, today one priest in a local temple, he gave me a blessing that you continue this in this American body, and next life you will be born in India, much higher position. And Prabhupada was furious. He said, you go back and tell him, you continue with your temple worship, and next life you'll be born in America and you can distribute my books. And devotees were surprised. How can Prabhupada be so daring, and by God? So Prabhupada said, look, there is still that subtle, very subtle kind of, how would you put it? Just a subtle kind of being uncomfortable that this Swami Prabhupada is going all around the world and claiming anybody can become a Brahmana, anybody can become a Vaishnava, and that too by just mumbling something, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Anybody can do that. So Prabhupada writes non purport. Anyone can do that, but do they do it? No, the path is simple, but your minds are crooked. I'll share with you something. One person, yeah, I think his name was Brando, an economics graduate from Chicago, Illinois, worked with the World Bank, got fed up with the job, staring at a computer screen for 9 hours a day. That's what he was saying. Came to the Washington D.C. temple, then learned Nectar of Devotion, then learned first canto, and then he came to India. At that time, there was a Kumbh Mela, a big gathering of tribes, uh, like Gary Prabhu, you are aware of this Burning Man festival or the Rainbow Gathering, right? So
Yes,
this is the
Prabhuji.
ancient, this is
Yes.
the ancient rainbow gathering of sadhus, Kumbh Mela. And he served there so nicely. He was serving in the kitchen. We were feeding about 1,500 people every day, and he would take part. Then he came to the Chowpatty temple. We sat and we talked. And I said, "What do you want to do?" He said, "Well, I haven't given up my understanding of uh, trying to understand many other paths." I said, "Okay." So I'm going to the Himalayas. There is one academy. Then I'll come back down to Vrindavan. I like to I've heard so many things, so I like to stay there. So he did that. So then he came back to Mumbai. I said, "Well, you have stayed in a ISKCON temple. You have served in the Kumbh Mela. You went to the Himalayas. Now you are finishing your Nectar of Devotion studies." I'm sorry, he studied the first canto Bhagavatam first and then the Nectar of Devotion. He said, "Now I am going to an academy in Myanmar, or the old name of Burma." I said, "Oh, and what do you do there?" It's $380 for a month, 30 days, $380. So something like more than $10 a day, which is not a big amount for American. And what he told me was, "I cannot do a part of it for the death of me. Get up at 3 o'clock every morning. There's a big gong that is being banged again and again and again, and then everybody gets up, and you're not supposed to speak. So no speaking, no gadgets, no mobile phones, no notes, no pencil, no paper allowed. 3:30 you're supposed to gather, standing meditation for 45 minutes. After that, standing meditation, you have to stand and meditate. Then a lecture by how do you discover your soul, or they don't understand, they don't accept the soul. How do you discover yourself? At 7 o'clock, some fruits and some milk. 12:30, rice and some vegetable. And the evening, one fruit or something like that. So very frugal meals, 3 times a day. And every 2 hours there is a class, and you have to wear a hood. So you're always like this. No eye contact with anybody. And no speaking, no talking, not even taking notes. And you hear what the lead meditator tells you. I said, "Gosh, after chanting Hare Krishna and releasing prasad and releasing kirtan, for 30 days you'll be doing that, and that too you are paying him? If somebody pays me $10,000, I won't do that." I'm not saying the process is good or bad or whatever. It could be an ancient process. Please understand, all these are authentic paths mentioned in so many of the ancient scriptures. But my only consideration is what Prabhupada says, is it practical? Can everyone do it? Now I am having a Brahmin thread, I shave my head, I put on a tilak, I make a big show of being a chanter and whatever. Am I a Brahmana? No. I am having a dress of a Brahmana, I'm trying to become one. So When your family people feel that, oh, you're not eating this, you're not eating that, they're actually accusing you of, you by this change in your eating habits and lifestyle are reminding us that we should be doing this. And that is making us very uncomfortable. Why don't we all belong to the same low grade quality of life so that nobody's higher and nobody's lower? So these are our relatives, blood relations. So we cannot argue with them. We cannot uh, kind of convince them or whatever. But in essence, this is what is the story in India. Every family, 1 billion plus Indians, and what unites us is this argument against becoming Krishna conscious. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. Anyone likes to add something before we move on? All right. So, text 45. Teen deen rahi se Gopal Chapal, Sarvange Haila Kushta, Vahe Rakta Dhar. Now, this guy, the leader of that, just see what happened to him. After 3 days, leprosy attacked Gopal Chapal and blood oozed from sores all over his body. Text 46. Sarvanga Bidila Kite Kate Nirantar, Asahya Vedana Dukhe Jwalayantar. Incessantly covered with germs and insects biting him all over his body, Gopal Chapal felt unbearable pain. His entire body burned in distress. Ganga Ghate Brikshatale Rahita Visya, Ek दिन bale kichu Prabhu ke dekhiya. Since leprosy is an infectious disease, Gopal Chapal left the village to sit down on the bank of the Ganga underneath a tree. One day, however, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing by and spoke to him as follows. Grama sambandhe ami tomar matul, bhagina mui kushthavyadite hayya chivyakul. Oh, my dear nephew, I am your maternal uncle in our village relationship. In India, it's called a mama. Now, Western mama means your mother, but Indian mama means your maternal uncle, your mother's brother. My dear nephew, I am your maternal uncle in your village relationship. Please see how greatly this attack of leprosy has afflicted me. Text 49. Loka sabha uddharite tomara avatar, mui bada dukhi morakara uddhar. As an incarnation of God, you're delivering so many fallen souls. I am also a greatly unhappy fallen soul. Kindly deliver me by your mercy. Prabhupada's purport. It appears that although Gopal Chapal was sinful, talkative, and insulting, he nevertheless had the qualification of simplicity. Thus, he believed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had come to deliver all fallen souls. And he appealed for his own deliverance, seeking the mercy of the Lord. He did not know, however, that the deliverance of the fallen does not consist of curing their bodily diseases. Although it is also a fact that when a man is delivered from the material clutches, his material bodily diseases are automatically cured. Gopal Chapal simply wanted to be delivered from the bodily sufferings of leprosy. But Sri Chaitanya, although accepting his sincere appeal, wanted to inform him of the real cause of suffering. So, dear devotees, see that this fellow is not an idiot, is not an ignorant person. He's calling Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an avatar. Oh, you have come here to deliver all the fallen souls. You're like my maternal uncle. So why would you not help me now that I am in so much of distress? It is something like one day one boy was arguing with me. Why won't God give me money? So I said, what do you mean? Why won't God give you money? He has a lot of money, doesn't he? I said, yes. So why won't he give me? So he said, well, you can't go to a billionaire and say that Mr. Bill Gates, Mr. Warren Buffett, are you billionaire? Are you a billionaire? Oh yeah, of course. So why can't you give me $1 million? You can, right? You have thousands of them. He has, but why should he give you? Give one good reason. Nobody gives you money just because they have. You have to have some qualification. So sometimes we have this understanding of God just as a sugar daddy somewhere up in the heaven and just giving me whatever I want. No. Therefore, we need to understand God's greatness and God's personality. So here, this person is accepting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an avatar. He knows the potency of Mahaprabhu. Now let us see what Mahaprabhu tells him. Ettashuni Mahaprabhu hoila kruddhaman krudhaveshe baletare tarjan vachan. Mahaprabhu became angry rather than being pleased. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared greatly angry, and in that angry mood, he spoke some words chastising him. Hey, what is this? The Lord is supposed to be merciful, Lord is supposed to be magnanimous. You will always find that any passage in the Vedic scriptures where Krishna, Rama, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Narsimha, why should God become angry? Isn't anger a symptom of somebody being conditioned by Maya? Isn't anger a material disease? Go to some self-help section of a bookshop, you'll find 50 books filled with anger management topics. In fact, some people say, oh, don't give God these mundane symptoms. God doesn't become angry. He's not like you and me. And our simple question then is, so where does anger come from? Anger is an emotion. And emotions are showed by persons. I'm sitting on this chair after I leave after the class is over. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to sit on you. No response. In fact, in my childhood, whenever I would bump into the corner of a table or a chair, and my grandma, she would take a stick and beat that chair. Take this, take this. Why did you hurt my grandson? And I would be crying and I'd be looking at that and I'll feel happy. Oh, she's giving somebody who hit me, somebody who hurt me, she's giving it back. That is just to satisfy my young intelligence, child intelligence. But now I know the chair is not sentient. Sentient means having senses. So please understand, it's a very important topic that God is a person, God has having sentiments, God has emotions. But as Prabhupada put it in one lecture, God's anger is pure anger, not mixed with the modes of material nature. God's greed is pure greed. You cannot compare that with the greed which you and me are supposed to be careful about. And one of the most important emotions, God's lust. You may say, wow, God has lust? Not really. It's actually pure love. It's like pure gold. So gold is metal, iron is metal. But iron is traded in tons. But gold is traded in grams. It's so valuable. So just to give a mundane idea of what the difference in the emotions is. So Lord Narsimhadev, he personifies pure anger. Krishna's Rasa-Lila exhibits Krishna's pure lust and the gopis' lust also. And if you read the Bhagavatam purports, Prabhupada says, Krishna book especially, for want of a proper word, we are using the word lust. Otherwise, there is no lust there. And you know what the scary part is? There is no lust up there and there is no love down here. Just think for a moment. We think if this is love, that is also, if this is lust, that also is lust. No, there is no love here and there is no lust up there. Otherwise, how can we have big renounced people, very wise people, worshipping Krishna's lusty activities? They don't do it themselves, but they worship it. While majority of others, they don't follow the principles of chastity to the philosophy or whatever, but they engage in lusty activities. So anger is a symptom and of emotion. A person can exhibit anger, and that's how Mahaprabhu exhibited anger. Are papi bhaktadveshi tore na uddharimu koti janma ei mate kidaye khawaimu. O sinful person, envious of pure devotees, I shall not deliver you. Rather, I shall have you bitten by these germs for many millions of years. You may say, whoa, Lord is cursing somebody, the Lord curses. That's it. There is no appeal. So this is our last point for discussion, purport. We should note herein that all our sufferings in this material world, especially from disease, are due to our past sinful activities. And of all sinful activities, actions directed against a pure devotee out of sheer envy are considered extremely severe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Gopal Chapal to understand the cause of his suffering. Any person who disturbs a pure devotee engaged in broadcasting the holy name of the Lord is certainly punished like Gopal Chapal. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we shall see, one who offends a pure devotee can never satisfy Chaitanya Mahaprabhu unless and until he sincerely regrets his offense and thus rectifies it. So that's our last point for discussion. Any points about today's topic or some other point? We have some time for questions.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
I was wondering, it's not this topic, but if you could help me understand the controversy within the devotees about Prabhupada's editing of his writings.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there are people that are wanting to edit some of his books, and then there are people that don't want them edited, and I was wondering what your position is on that.
Okay, I have served in the BBT as a translator and editor for the last 17 years. I still have that service. We have had long discussions with many senior people. So, especially there is one sannyasi called Jayadvait Swami. He is my mentor, he is my senior. He trained me up in the BBT work. So I remember I said, Srila Prabhupada is perfect. He does not need editors. So he said, yes, Srila Prabhupada is perfect. Therefore, he appointed editors. So I said, hey, Maharaj, what do you mean by that? He said, look, many people feel that the way you read Krishna book today or the Chaitanya Charitamrta purports today, this is exactly how Prabhupada dictated them. That's not so. There are recordings available where Prabhupada said, I'll give you the basic recording and then you edit it for clarity, for brevity. You don't change the concepts which I'm giving you. Like the first devotee to help Srila Prabhupada was Howard Wheeler, Hayagriva Das. He was a English reader at OSU, Ohio State University. He took one glance at Prabhupada's books, which he brought from India, and he said, Swamiji, did anyone help you edit the English? And Prabhupada said, no. So he said, Americans won't understand what you're writing here. So Prabhupada said, then you do it nicely. So sometimes Prabhupada in his simplicity would say, do it nicely. And Hayagriva started editing. Now what happens is, in India, we have this saying, that we applied turmeric uh, to our body, especially marriage ceremony. The entire body of the bride, there is sandalwood and turmeric paste applied. You have this in Andhra Pradesh? You have? Okay. So, how can somebody apply turmeric with just half a root of turmeric? You need at least like a bowl full to make that paste for the whole body. So, the saying goes that, oh, she has become yellow by just using half a turmeric. That means with a little qualification, you are claiming to be a big scholar. So, in the beginning, Prabhupada said, okay, you edit my books. And then he kept on producing books, Bhagavatam purports, Chaitanya Charitamrta purports. And as usual, sometimes somebody would complain that this translation is not accurate. So there is a big meeting, and Prabhupada said, who's that rascal editor, and how dare you change my words and everything. So they could understand that from one end of the spectrum, we have gone to the other end, where we are even trying to change. Oh, maybe Prabhupada wants this, maybe Prabhupada wants that. So two devotees were still living with us today. Jayadvaita Swami is based in, well, mostly stays in Brooklyn area, New York, and another Dravida Prabhu. Dravida stays in San Diego, and they're both of them accessible. You can talk to them, email them, whatever. They are such surrendered souls. They are real Brahmanas, honest to the core. They would not do anything as a mischief. They would not do something because they want to show off their scholarship. Like Jayadvaita Swami says, I am a dropout from high school. I'm not a English scholar or a emeritus professor, but I could understand what Prabhupada wanted. So the first part is Prabhupada said, just do whatever you want. Second part, he finds that his disciples are doing something more than what they can digest. So he shouts at them. And later, when they are a little bit more trained up, he says, I trust them fully. So there are letters, all these three things are documented. Now, what some people have thought as ISKCON as an institution will always have its ups and downs. You are an individual, I am an individual, I'll have my own opinions. So midway in the 90s, 80s and the 90s decade, the midway, because ISKCON was not doing such a grand way in so many areas, leaders were having problems with their spiritual discipline. So many of them were leaving their practices. So this idea became prevalent that all these problems are occurring because we have changed Prabhupada's books. So naturally, there was a divide. And some are saying, be prudent. The language has changed, culture has changed. So we need to change with the times. And there is another group which says, no, don't touch Prabhupada's purports at all. So as they say in America, the jury is out. This jury has still not decided. For some, this is a technical matter. For some, it's a sentimental matter. Some are saying that because we change Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada is angry with us, and therefore our movement is faltering. And some are saying that look at Shakespeare. Who reads Shakespeare the way he wrote in the 16th century today? You may admire, you may respect, but Prabhupada's books are not just for admiring and respecting, they are meant for daily reading. So there will be some time when English language itself will change. So in this way, I see merit in both sides of the argument. I'm not a fanatic that just preserves something like something very silly and trivial. In New York, one boy came named Neil. He was just a university intern or something, and he liked the devotees, and he said, "I'm a typist." So Prabhupada's tapes were given to Neil, and Neil would hear the tapes and would transcribe, and that would be then given to the printer. So there are some things in the old Bhagavad Gita where Neil just missed a number. So there are 16 items and Neil wrote 20. So some are saying, so should this number 20 be eternally as a mistake kept sacred just because we should not change? There are forefathers which are called Pitris, Pitri, Pitris. But Neil heard it trees. So he said there is a planet of trees. Now, it's a mistake, it's a sacred mistake. It won't change your Hare Krishna chanting or whatever. But common sense is, hey, if your spiritual master didn't say something, why you want to concretize it? Why you want to make it like a monument? You just make a change. But here the conservative people come and say, hey, if you allow one change, you'll allow so many other changes. So then I also did some research in the religious history. It happened with the Bible. There was the Hebrew Bible, then they became the English Bible, but which one? So King James kind of authorized one, and he made some changes. So God loves you. Simple statement. But it was transcribed as or translated as God is love. Oh, God is love? Wow, what a statement. How exactly God is love? Oh, maybe God means a non-person entity and he's full of love. Or the simple thing is God loves you. He's a person and therefore a person can love another person. So some are saying, please let ISKCON not have the same trials and tribulations what other people went through. Like once you open a small window, there's a floodgate of changes. Every 50, 60 years, somebody would change, and don't make it authorized. Let's seal them off. So if you seal, you keep some errors intact. And if you change, rectify the errors, who knows when this thing will stop and the essence could be lost. So that's where we stand today. Maybe as I'm also part of this process where we discuss these things, I will keep you abreast of whatever is happening.